what we have here is a storage closet. So we are doing something special with this storage closet I'm not going to reveal at the moment, and I hope that none of my kiddos do either. I don't want to give away the surprise. Yep. But what our project is going to be today is how to create a floating table. So as you can see, we've got, we're working on a project in this room. We've got kind of like little benches, not really benches, but they will hold you if you want to sit on them, but don't.
Wait, seriously?
They could, but let's not test it, because you know, it could fall, right? But we've got this area here. Let me back up a little bit. We had just a little table to where the audio video equipment sits. We took that table out so we can work in this space. Probably gonna have to move that so we don't drop stuff down inside. But what we want to do here is kind of create a little space with like a workbench, but also something to protect that audio video equipment underneath the workbench. We actually may end up just moving the whole video setup out of this little closet. I think the original owners intended this to be some sort of AV closet. It sends audio signals and video signals all across the house with all these different wirings and things like that. But we're gonna do something a little different. So first thing we're gonna do, folks, we're gonna measure this space and we're gonna see what exactly we need to do to get a table in here. Now, what makes it a floating table? What do you guys think? I think, Emery, you had a good point a minute ago.
Okay, so I was thinking at the movie theaters where there was a table that flops down and you hit the button to call waiters, but there's gonna be no button, obviously.
Right.
But since it's attached to a seat, you can flip up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And you guys said I was really close and like.
Yeah. Well, what makes it a floating table?
Well, it's attached to the wall, but the legs aren't there, which makes it.
Right. There's no legs. And earlier when I asked how do you do a floating table, I said, how can you have a table with no legs? And you immediately said, attach it to the wall, right? So you pretty much got this, got the idea. So what we're gonna do, actually, I've already taken, here, let's look at this. I've already taken some measurements, please forgive my writing, but we've got the room laid out. I took some measurements of kind of where the table's gonna be, like the shelves on the table, the top of the table.
I guess you're not the best at writing.
I'm really not. I know it's like kind of scratchy. I also made note that because of the trim, the bottom like little shelf on the table is going to be almost 2 inches narrower than when it's connected to the wall, because the trim has to account for some of that space. So what I did on the drawing is I put the bottom in here and did my measurements. It's right at about 2 inches small of what the tabletop is going to measure. And then also don't forget that when you're measuring your distances, and basically what I'm doing is a cut sheet, so I know how to cut the boards I'm going to use. You have to subtract your depth and your width by the type of wood that you're going to use to attach to the wall. So today we're just going to use 2x4s, probably recycled pallets. So I'm going to have to subtract the width of those pallets as I put together kind of the distance of my board cuts. So, you guys ready to start working on this?
Yep.
Awesome. Let's go cut. So we definitely moved the expensive audio video equipment out of the way. And then the next step is we looked at where exactly do we want the little shelf to be. So, yeah, this is where we started. And you can kind of see, we just drew a line. I think we measured 33 inches around and then just did that all across. And I'll use a level here in a bit. But now, Luke has a job. What's your job?
To find the stud.
And what are you going to be using?
Stud finder.
That's right. But is the stud lost?
Nope.
Okay. All right. It's right here. Okay. So what he's going to do is he's going to go across the wall with the stud finder, and he's going to try to locate where the studs are. All right, there's one. Yep, definitely one on the edge. So you can make a little mark somewhere over on the edge there. Making a mark so we know that once we put the boards up, that's where we're going to screw in. Okay. Looking around. It's tough. You got the button pushed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll say.
Sometimes these aren't perfect, you know. Oh, there's one. All right, so let's put a little mark there. Another way you can try to look is a lot of times builders, when they put these plates in, they have to screw the box behind the plate, usually into a stud one way or the other. So that can usually help steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, there's a nail imprint.
And there's a nail pop. Oh, let's get a close look at that. Yep, that nail pop indicates that there's something that it's nailed into or screwed into. So that looks like a stud. All right, good job. There's probably another one back there in the corner because they would have to connect the sheetrock to something back there. So there's probably another one. Now we're going to go across the back.
Put another marker here because...
Yeah. Another thing too is building code, at least here, is studs are 16 inches on center. So once we find one, we can look roughly about 16 inches away and we should see another. So let's keep on going.
Okay.
Use that. We have another box down there, so we should be able to find it next to the box. Here's one way over there on the side. Let's go ahead and mark that one. And he's marking it. Okay. Let's come back over this way. Keep seeing if you can find it. Oh, well, you just put it right on one, I think. Yep. Okay, let's mark it. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can find another one. Oh, there's one up there, it looks like. Keep on going. Oh, that's weird. Is there one over there? Oh, there's one there.
Around here.
You want to mark it? Okay. Now we're going to come over here to this other wall. We know that the side's got to have one. I bet you it's going to be about 16 inches from that one. Yep. Somewhere in there. Okay.
Probably a corner one.
Yep, in the corner. All right, cool. So, next thing we're going to do is we are going to take some of this pallet wood that I broke down and cut. So I went ahead and pre-measured everything and cut the pallet wood to meet the back spec, the front spec, and then on the sides, what I did was I cut some 2x4s because I want that to be really, really solid. So that's because that's going to hold the majority of the weight. And what is going on this table is going to be fairly heavy. I'm not going to say what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because we don't want to spoil the surprise. But
yeah, I guess it would be heavy.
It would be very heavy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and put these in. What I like to do is take the back and go ahead and screw in your sides and your center supports into the back. And then put that up against the wall so that you have screws coming in from the back. And obviously, if you put your backer on the wall first, you can't screw in from the back because it's what? Against the wall?
Against the wall.
Right, and that won't work. So we'll do that next. All right, we've made the tabletop, but it's too wide just to have it resting on that by itself. So what we've got to do is put some center supports in there. And all we did to make the tabletop, honestly, we just screwed it in, right? Nothing fancy. And so we're taking a 43-inch width and dividing it by 3. So how wide is that, Luke?
14.
14 and...
a quarter.
Yeah, about 14 and a quarter. So we're going to measure 14 and a quarter from each side, which is going to split this thing into thirds. So we're going to put 2 more supports in there. That's going to make this much, much sturdier. All right. So measure from the other side. That way it's all, yep. it's even from side to side. And it's not going to be exact because 43 doesn't divide exactly into 3 equal sections, so it's okay. All right, you got it? Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's go ahead and put our supports at those marks. So Luke's going to get those supports in there. Line them up as best you can. I'll help you if you just get them in there kind of rough. Yep, slide them in. It's a good fit. There it is. He's lining it up. Here's a little marks that were made. And just kind of lining it up in the center. Yep, there's one over there. All good. Okay, then you get your other one. And these will support that tabletop and help distribute the weight.
This one's tinier.
It is. It's just a scrap piece of wood. So all of this wood I had just laying around in the barn.
Okay.
Well, that's why some of it's wet. Some of it's not quite, but since it's just underside a support, nobody's going to see it. All right. Okay. Now it's time to screw it in.
This looks off.
It's okay. It's true. I didn't have one of the pieces of wood, so I just used a scrap piece of wood. It's all right. It's on the floor, dude. It's okay. Just screw it in.
Screw it. Okay. Oops.
All right, you're getting there. And the sides are already put together, so you kind of know how to do this part.
Yep.
All right, so we'll come over here and just getting these are 1 5/8" wood screws.
That looks about right.
Well, it doesn't have to be flush with the top. It has to be flush with the bottom, because remember we turned this upside down.
Oh, yeah.
Ha ha! Because the floor is flat, at least it should be. So we turned it upside down a little bit to help us not have to hold this while we screw it. Like that thumb. There you go. Got it. Okay, cool. And get another one. Yep, and put it on in here. And again, this is going on the back side of this table. So we'll put these in. And then once we put the table up against the wall, we'll be good to go.
I think that's good, right?
Yeah, why not? We'll keep doing this, and then we'll start to mount it onto the wall. You okay?
A little bit.
All right.
Hello, welcome back to Luke's Leveling. So, we are leveling this floating table.
Yeah, so we put the table up on one side and just, tacked it in with one screw just to get one side in, right? Then we put the level across, just like that, to make it level. And you want to get that right there in the middle. And then once that was done, then we went to the middle, right? And we put it, sorry, here we go, right? Well, one more in, right? So by putting these in the middle, that allowed us to kind of move the table front and back like a seesaw. So then we put the level front to back. Just like that. And so as soon as it was right there in the middle, yep, jazz hands, I guess. Then we put one screw in the back. Right there, yes, Luke. So now we've got it held up by 3 screws. That's nowhere near strong enough to hold up everything we're going to put on this table. So we're going to go ahead and screw it all in. As soon as that's all done, the very next thing we're going to do is put the tabletop on. And you'll see that I made this just a little bit shorter than the wall, because I'm going to put that tabletop to come out almost flush. And so that gives it a little bit of an overhang, just kind of for a nice appearance. Cool?
Yes. Now, we'll see you next time on Luke's Leveling.
You've lost your mind.
Hello. You caught me in the middle of doing my
So
hammer.
we just went and cut some more pallet wood pieces, and you can see what we did. We just cut them. We left a little bit of room. I didn't make them exactly flush. You can see there's a little bit of a gap, just because the walls aren't exactly flush, and you want to be able to get them in there without scratching up your walls too bad. So we put them in. We got to do hammer and nails.
Yeah.
You like hammer and nails,
Yes,
don't you?
it's
It was
very
kind of
fun.
fun. It was a little fulfilling. And so yeah, that's what we ended up with. And you can see my overhang. It's nice. Just a little bit of an overhang. It ended up, you can see it's just a little bit shy of the wall to be flush.
It looks bigger on camera than
It
it
does.
is. Like,
It does.
here,
Let's see.
That
Hold on.
might-
Let's see.
that might do it. But
Let's,
looks
it is about 3/4 of an inch. But you know what? I think that's great. We had played with putting like this piece of wood kind of as a backsplash, and I still could. Here, Luke, let's try. Let's put this up for a second. If I want to do it this way, maybe if I was a little bit short, I can add this wood up here.
Oh, we should just go ahead and do that. That actually
It actually looks
kinda
pretty
nice.
good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
I think that looks pretty sharp.
Yay! One more time.
Yeah. Well, not yet. We're for that we still got to measure. Well, not measure, but do the stud finder, right? Yeah. Stud finder. But we'll get that here in a second. I might even just use a staple gun, because I don't want screws in the back of that.
Nails.
I could use, but I need bigger nails. I would want bigger nails to go through sheetrock. So we'll have to see. I'm not sure what I'm going to do as far as nailing that back in. But for right now, that looks pretty good. The next step in this project, we're going to put shelves down below. But before we start putting shelves, and again, I'm going to make the shelves probably only about 14 inches deep, so that this table is something you could actually sit up at, rather than having shelves extend all the way.
Should we make like a bar stool?
That's exactly right.
Wait, are we gonna use the one with like the peace sign on it
Maybe.
that you wrote?
Maybe.
We should do that.
But before we do any of that, we're going to have to rewire our home theater, because I don't really want to try to work around all this stuff. It was one thing working over here, but now that we get closer to all these wires and all that
Can
kind
we
of
tell them
stuff.
what this is for?
Not yet. We'll have that on another episode. It will start to become apparent to anybody that knows me what this room is going to be. We may or may not show that. But anyway, this is great. So a little workbench. I'm excited about having it. Cool. Thanks for watching.
Yes. Make sure to subscribe and ring-a-ling-a-ding of that bell.